Welcome to OPENeX 2025 here in Liège. Joining me is Claire from Uniserve. Thanks for being here, Claire. Tell us a bit about Uniserve and your role.
Thank you. Uniserve is a global freight forwarder that provides air, road, sea, but also loads of other logistics services like warehousing, which is where I work, and outbound parcel and some other associated services. And I'm here to learn more about the air freight side, coming from an e-commerce warehouse background. It's been really interesting for me to understand how e-commerce has affected the air industry, and I've really learned an awful lot in the 2 days that I've been here, so it's been great.
What's the key takeaway that you've taken from it so far?
It's been really around what companies like Shein and Temu are doing and how that's really impacted the proportion of air freight and the nature of air freight, in terms of there've been so many more deliveries, even though it's the same amount of freight perhaps. So just the impact that's had on the global market and how that's continued to impact on the pattern of shipments, but also the capacity issues that it's causing. Something I hadn't thought about, even though perhaps what I do is contributing to some of that issue. So yeah.
But is that quite helpful for Uniserve to be here and have those discussions?
Really helpful.
And find solutions?
Really helpful. So building the partnerships and the networks with that kind of changing environment and the changing in market conditions. I've met some really useful, interesting people, and I know that some productive conversations have already happened and that business is going to come out of it, for sure.
And there's a panel discussion tomorrow that you're involved in. There's been masterclasses. Tell us about the panel discussion.
So the panel that I've been invited to participate in is really about whether it's better for brands and retailers to have their warehousing in a country that the consumer's in, or near to where the consumer is, or whether it's better to have fewer warehouses and cross-border ship their e-commerce orders. I'm sort of leaning, or expected to lean, towards the side of warehousing because that's where I work. But of course there is a tipping point between the cost of having multiple inventories and shipping costs, and also the customer services of speed to delivery and fewer customer complaints and a better customer experience. So it's about finding the right balance.
And what are the challenges that you've seen so far? Obviously you're saying that you're from the warehousing side, so you're just coming and getting a broader view of this side, but what are the challenges that you're seeing?
In terms of air freight?
Yes, and in the industry at the moment. The people, what are people talking about?
So I think the challenge is obviously America and the tariffs, which is obviously an evolving situation which we're all keeping an eye on. I think the other big challenge is there's a little bit of a crisis in consumer confidence, which means there's a bit of a contraction in the market, and so there's more of us fighting for perhaps market share in a contracting industry. And obviously the Chinese companies are taking a lot of that market share as well. So it's putting a lot of pressure on the logistics industry to be more competitive, and I think a lot of brands and retailers are finding that perhaps that what they've got is maybe a little bit too much, and they're maybe having to re-engineer their logistics to maybe outsource where they're in-house, or get a bit smaller, or become more agile. So
find new ways of working.
Find new ways of working.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Together.
Exactly. Yes. Collaboration.
Yes, absolutely. The key word.
Yes.
Well, good luck tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.